My name is Anatoly Kondratenko. I work for Accor, and I'm in charge of hotel development in Canada, and also I've been in charge for residential and mixed-use development for Accor in North America, North and Central America, so on the whole continent. Initially, I was finance, and I would tell you in development, what I do today, approximately 50% of the people are coming from finance, because finance background helps a lot to crunch the numbers right on the go as you speak to potential clients, hotel investors. So, it was Hyatt. I don't change jobs too often, so this is actually my third company. So I worked for Hyatt for approximately like 8 to 10 years. Then I moved to Starwood already as an in development role. Starwood Hotels at those times it was more known as Sheraton. And I worked approximately for 10 years in Brussels, in charge of 30 countries, big region, Eastern Europe, Scandinavia, Spain, because, by the way, I speak a little bit of Spanish.
I'm going to ask you that next.
And actually, then I moved to Canada upon Marriott's acquisition of Starwood. They offered me to go back to my home country, which I didn't really want, and I was a Canadian permanent resident by that time. If I did that move, I would lose the Canadian residency, which I didn't want. So I decided to go west, like Pet Shop Boys sings, and we went west 7 years ago.
I love that song. Great
Go
reference.
west.
Yes.
So we went west, so 7 years ago we landed here. By now, all my family is Canadian. So with passports, we can travel freely
That's wonderful.
the world. And
we're lucky to have you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
So how many languages do you speak?
I can work in 3 languages. So I can work in English, I can work in my mother language, which is Russian, and I can work in Spanish. And that's why I was covering, like, a part of my work was to cover Latin America, so where Spanish is widely spoken, along with English, of course. So, you know, everybody has a dream. Kind of early dream, child's dream. So my dream was to travel and see in the world. So I was born in Soviet Union, which was behind Iron Curtain at that time. So I really dreamt. I read a lot about Japan, UK, these island countries, which had a lot in common, by the way, although different cultures. So, and then Soviet Union collapsed, the borders opened, and I actually started to travel the world. And I ended up being a finance guy, so I ended up in a Canadian-owned and managed hotel in Moscow at that time, and it was the first internationally managed hotel in the capital of the Soviet Union.
Wow.
So I was an accountant. I ended up, 7 years later, I ended up as director of finance of that property, and this was the time when I actually moved to work in Central Asia for Hyatt hotels. And
a very different economic model to begin your career in, which is a great frame of reference.
Indeed, and it's very different. It actually reminds me a little bit Egyptian kind of model, quite bureaucratic, still is, by the way. So when I moved,
we have a lot of bureaucracy happening in the world today in general, but
it's actually, I noticed that the world was more open when I was closed. When I opened and started to travel the world, so I didn't bring that to the world, by the way. So, and I just noticed that actually all the Western countries, maybe except the United States, because it's a bit of a kind of a extreme capitalism, right? But all the other countries I worked with, so I worked in Europe and Canada, they actually getting back to the Karl Marx model of free economy, seriously controlled by the government.
What does the next 6 months look like for Accor and for you?
First of all, Accor has passed a huge transformation, I would say, and it started within pandemic. And going out of pandemic, we were still transforming. Our CEO, Sebastian Bazan, is a very creative guy. He's known by that.
I've heard him speak. I enjoyed listening to him speak.
Yes, and he actually, what we've done is we split the company into 3 components. It's still Accor, one umbrella, one loyalty base, kind of one database, one everything, controlled from Sebastian's headquarters. But at the same time, we decided to split lifestyle division, luxury division, and as we call it, PME, which is premium, mid-scale, and economy division.
Yes.
Because we decided that mentally these 3 products are pretty different, especially today. After pandemics, the luxury went one direction. Lifestyle is extremely popular among younger people, and PME is basically something like, which is again premium mid-scale economy, which is something affordable, which always is in demand because more and more population, regardless of the incomes, want to travel,
Yeah.
and they normally go
in
to
Canada, that's our best performing
exactly.
right category. I think.
We did research a couple of years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, in US and Canada about luxury. How many luxury projects entered the market? Hotel projects, of course, and how many of them we lost? We lost a lot, by the way. We lost almost everything because we're not as big here. And it turned out that in Canada, for the last like 5-6 years, there were only like 2 or 3 luxury projects, and all those projects were autograph collection by Marriott, which not everyone is considering luxury at all to start with. So we are missing that segment. I mean, new development, new projects, because we have
Sure.
Fairmonts, we have some existing hotels, Four Seasons and Shangri-La, and the others, but there's no new luxury development. 2 reasons. One reason, main reason, is just it's too expensive to build, and everybody is afraid of like getting back the money or not. I mean, just because people are willing to stay in luxury, but it's too expensive to build. So that's what I say. But still, I'm trying to pitch Fairmont hotels in remaining destinations in Canada, like let's say Niagara Falls, Kelowna, maybe the second one in Toronto, for example. So,
Yeah.
but that's my role as
The
a
Royal York
in
has
a,
cornered the Fairmont market. Maybe we need a second one.
yeah, something like Pacific Rim here in
Yes.
Vancouver, because
Yeah.
we have 4 Fairmonts here,
Yes.
3 in downtown,
That's right.
1 historic,
Hotel Vancouver, Pacific. Yeah, of
exactly,
course.
and waterfront. So
Yes.
1 historic, 1 modern, kind of semi-historic, and 1 kind of very modern, like almost lifestyle. Lifestyle is in extreme demand. And again, in Canada, we don't have so many lifestyle hotels. Lifestyle, you would, let's say, out in Toronto Airport, something like W hotels.
Yes, yep.
At their best years.
Yeah.
I was part of it because I was Starwood when W
course,
was born,
of
and
course, I
I
forgot
signed a
about
couple
that.
of those in Europe. And
I stayed in one of the early ones in Murray Hill in New York City.
the tricky thing about lifestyle hotels, they are trendy.
And therefore could become dated quickly.
Exactly, trends can change, and there's all this investment, if you didn't pay back by then, so can be wasted in a way. So that's a big risk about lifestyle. So that's why the easier thing is just to build a product which is nice looking, but the software, not the hardware of the hotel, but the software, the services, the activation as we call it, which doesn't cost much, and this cost can be changed daily, on a daily basis. Human resources, they basically kind of, you fill it in with the lifestyle, which was revolutionary. We stopped wearing ties. Fritz van Paschen of Starwood stopped wearing a tie at conferences, and then everybody did. So now we are maybe coming.
So now you're trendsetters, whether you like it or not.
Kind of, yeah. And then the uniform, jeans as uniform was not possible in a higher end hotels, and t-shirts and something like, and informal language and beards and ponytails. So it all was invented at certain point within W, within Hyatt, within Accor as
Maybe
well.
it's that, changes in business culture, they translate to a change in guest expectation,
Exactly.
and it rubs
Exactly.
off on tourists and
Right.
everyday people.
And the other thing, the focus of about 6 months, maybe it's not 6 months, but maybe more over 6 years. So collection brands. So every hotel chain, including
Yeah.
Accor, now has collection brand in any segment. Like we
Yeah.
have Handwritten in the mid-scale segment, M Gallery, one of them is here in Vancouver,
the M Gallery
in a
is
premium,
very interesting.
and Emblems, which is a luxury segment. Collection brands are first of all franchise friendly. They can be managed by third-party operators or the hotel owners. Second, they don't require such a high PIP to be converted. To a brand compliance, because there's no
Interesting.
brand requirements as such, except IT connecting your particular hotel
Technology.
to the booking systems and stuff. And all that may be in demand because Booking.com, Expedia.com are charging so much, and we heard it today at the panel, which was related to the cost of operating hotels. So these guys, look, what happened? When I started in hotel business, travel agencies charge you 10% commission, And those travel agencies had offices, many buses,
Lots of overhead.
charters, a lot of
Assets.
physical activity. Now, online travel agents have nothing of that. They do have brains to maintain that cloud-based platform.
Of course.
But how much they charge you?
Yeah.
25?
Data is dollars.
20, 25%? If you're an independent hotel? Much less if you're part of that kind of chain of
So there's
Marriott,
almost a volume
Hilton.
buying.
Exactly. And actually,
benefit.
all the mergers in the hotel industry actually were driven by a wish to compete with these online travel agencies because
Interesting.
they get a lot for nothing, and actually they get it from our pockets. So that's why collection brands, I think, are very popular and will be popular because many independent properties which are now doing well, as in one series was said, the winter is coming. And the winter is coming for everyone one day when the clientele clientele pipeline starts to dry, and then you need kind of to connect to someone bigger who would allow you to fill in your beds cheaper. That's kind of.
You've given us so much food for thought,
Oh, yeah.
and I could speak to you for days. But thank you so very much.
Thank you, Stacy.
Terrific